Hey, what is going on, guys? It is Young here, and today I'm back in our Fortnite video, and in today's video I'm going to be going over my settings and the best settings that you guys should be using here for Fortnite. I'm going to be covering pretty much every single setting in this video, so if you guys are curious what the best sensitivity is or what my settings are when it comes to dead zone or anything in between, I'm going to be covering everything in this video. So make sure you guys do stay to the end of the video because I'm going to be covering pretty much everything, so definitely stay tuned. And before we get into the video, I have a V-Buck giveaway. If you guys want a chance to win some free V-Bucks, all you guys have to do is to drop a like on the video. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel and also subscribe to my second channel. The link for that will be in the description or the pinned comment. Turn on my post notifications and as well comment down below your Xbox gamer tag, your PSN gamer tag, or Epic account. And as well, if you guys would like to support me in the item shop, all you guys have to do is go over to the item shop, go down to support a creator, type in my code is Young Humor, and you guys will have me added and supported as a creator. I really do appreciate all you guys who do add me. And alright guys, let's go right to the video. Alright, so in this video, I wanted to be talking and going over the settings that I'm currently using here for Fortnite. And personally, these are the settings that I like to use. And for a lot of you guys, you might have a little bit different settings, a little bit different sensitivity, but a lot of it should be pretty similar when it comes to the first category. And of course, when it comes to my edit binds, I'm going to be covering over what I use. But of course, a lot of you guys might be using something different, but I'm going to give my recommendations, what I think you guys should be using, that I think can help you guys out a ton when it comes to having the best settings here for Fortnite. Alright, so going into my first set of settings, the sensitivity that I'm using currently is going to be my X sensitivity is going to be a 7, with my Y sensitivity also being a 7. And I actually, for those of you guys who watched my previous settings video, I actually bumped this up a little bit. I used to play on a 6.5. And I do think both the sensitivities are very, very good. But the reason why I bumped it up is because I felt like in my close range situations that I was missing a little bit more shots than I should have just because I couldn't move fast enough. So that's the reason why I moved it up to 7. Otherwise, 6.5 is perfect. It's just one of those situations where I feel like if I bumped it up just a little bit more, it would help me out a ton. And I really wouldn't recommend going above like an 8. I wouldn't recommend playing on like an 8.5 or a 9 sensitivity. I feel like personally that's just too high and you're going to be missing a lot of shots just because of playing on that high of a sensitivity. But I do recommend this around the sensitivity that I use. I play on a 7. You guys might play something similar, but that's what I would recommend. And so going into my controller targeting sensitivity, and this sensitivity is just going to be your aim down sights, how fast your sensitivity moves when you're aiming. And so mine's going to be on a 0.325, and I used to play on a little bit higher, and I've actually played on a little bit higher, and I've also played on a little bit lower. And this is kind of the sweet spot because you don't want to play on too high because you're going to be missing a ton of shots, but at the same time you don't want to play on it too low because if it's a ton different than your regular sensitivity, so if you play on like an 8 sensitivity and then your target sensitivity is on like a 2 or like a 1.5, it's going to be a little bit harder to aim just because it's just so far off. But having it in that 3 to 4 range or even 2 range, I think could be very good, and that's what I would recommend when it comes to that sensitivity. And so my next setting is going to be controller scope sensitivity, and this really doesn't matter, so whatever you feel like it. Doesn't really matter, make a whole lot of difference, just aiming with snipers. But the next sensitivity after that's going to be controller building sensitivity, and I play on a 1.8. I would recommend playing on anything. I would say it has to be at least like a 1.5 or so. At least you definitely want to play on a lot higher building sensitivity. I play on a 1.8. The reason why I don't play on a 2 sensitivity is I feel like it's just a little bit too fast when it comes to doing 90s, but some people do play on a 2, and it's definitely not a bad sensitivity to run. I would definitely run a high building sensitivity. And then for editing sensitivity, I 100% recommend playing on max. That's what I play on, and I think a lot of my friends that I know play on max editing sensitivity, because you might as well, it doesn't affect your aim at all, and you might as well be able to edit as fast as possible. So playing on max editing sensitivity, I think is going to be really important to being able to edit very quickly, and also being very effective when it comes to building and editing in this game. So going into my next group of sensitivities, toggle sprint, I have that off. Sprint by default, I would 100% recommend having sprint by default on. It helps a ton. I think personally when it comes to editing, I'm just way better at editing with it on. So I would recommend having sprint by default on. Pretty much all the other settings, reset building choice off, edit mode aim assist. That's one thing that I play on a ton. I absolutely love it. It helps me edit very quickly. And it's just one of those things that's a lot better. I think I did a full video explaining it, and I think it was one of my editing videos, how to edit faster. It was in one of those videos, but I went into full depth on exactly why I think edit mode aim assist is going to be very beneficial to use than not having it on, just for a ton of reasons. It's just so much easier to edit with if you do know how to use it and kind of know its limitations. I think it's very helpful, and I would recommend everyone who does play on controller to go ahead and use that setting. And so the next thing that I want to talk about is the current binds that I use with my controller. So in my combat controls, these are the binds that I have. Really the only changes I have are pretty much my edit button is going to be right on the D-pad. And as you guys know, I do play an Elite controller, so I just use the pals on my back. A lot of people play with claw. I think the majority of people play claw in Fortnite, so I mean they have completely different settings. Some people edit with their left stick down. Some people still edit with B because they can still, you know, use their claw. Which honestly, personally, I don't like claw. It hurts my fingers really bad, so I don't use it. I think it's terrible. I don't like using it at all. But I play with an Elite controller. I use paddles, so that's why I have the binds the way I do. So I just have to hit one of my top paddles. And if you guys wanted to know my layout when it comes to which paddle specifically that I press, and that's just going to be my top right paddle. That's the one I use to edit, and then my top left one is going to be used as confirm. So those are the two binds that I use when it comes to editing, and I would highly recommend for those guys who do have an Elite controller to play on something similar to what I have, and pretty much the exact same layout, just for the reason why I have it, because I do have jump in the bottom left. And the reason why I have jump in the bottom left, it's so much easier because if you're trying to aim, because if you want to go, when you're jump shotting in this game, you want to be able to aim very easily. And if you have your jump paddle on the exact same side that you aim with, the exact same side your analog stick is, I think it's kind of hard to hit your shots. So I would not recommend having your jump paddle on the right side. When you're aiming with the right side, I would definitely have it on one of the left paddles. I think that's just so helpful. And I have it on my bottom left because the bottom left paddle is one of the biggest paddle, and honestly, you're pressing that constantly throughout Fortnite, so it just makes sense to have it in the bottom left. And here in my build controls, really the only thing that I can think that I change is going to be the left stick down I use to place my traps, do anything like that. And of course, like to switch around my materials and stuff, I use left from the D-pad, which is one of my paddles. So those are the only two things that I personally use. I definitely do like having my place traps on the left stick because it's super easy to place. It's not very difficult. I don't have to take my thumb off my analog stick to hit any of like the A, B, Y, and X. I don't have to anything like that. So that's why I do like having my trap place on that keybind. Everything else I'm pretty sure is like about the same. Not really too much difference. I have crouch, edit, change materials. So pretty much everything's going to be pretty similar, but that's what I run for my build controls. Next, I'm going to be taking a look at my edit controls, and like I said, I do edit with the right on the D-pad, and my confirm button is going to be left on the D-pad, but these are the specific keybinds that I have to allow me to do that. So I think, yeah, right stick is going to be unbound when it comes to the edits, but you want to make sure you have your confirm on, and pretty much everything else is pretty default. I haven't really changed anything too much. But like I said, if you guys do play on claw, a lot of your controls are going to be a lot different, because for me personally, I don't use like Y or X or A, B. I don't even touch A and B. Y and X, I use Y to change my my pickaxe, and I use X to reload. That's pretty much the only two reasons I would take my finger off the right analog stick. I have jump, build, edit, and confirm on my paddles, so that's why I have the layout that I do, and that's what I would recommend if you guys do have an Elite controller as well. I think it's very good, very helpful, and I would highly recommend having that controller. But like I said, some of you guys who do play claw, your settings are going to look a lot different than mine. And so lastly, I want to talk about my dead zone. I didn't think a lot of you guys cared about dead zone, but a ton of you guys were asking me during my live stream what my dead zones are, so here you guys go. My left stick is on a 0.2 and my right stick is on a 0.16, and this really just is personal preference, because if your dead zones are a little bit off in your controller, meaning that you're looking around without even touching your analog stick, then you might want to raise your dead zone. So it really just depends on your controller, because some controllers are a little bit more busted than others. If you drop it enough times, the dead zones are naturally going to get messed up on it, so you definitely would have to change it. But for the most part, I mean, that's just what I play for my dead zones. It really doesn't make that huge of a difference changing it like a few points, but you want to have something similar, and that's what I would recommend having. And with that being said, that's a wrap up for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys liked it, make sure you guys do drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, turn on my post notifications so you guys are notified for every single new video. And alright guys, I'll see you next video.